Medicare takes a pretty lenient view on it, you know. So if you've got the patient on appropriate medicine, you can use it for a lot of different things. It's not that little narrow, I would say, like 10 years ago where you only used it for maybe COPD and only for a little bit and that was it, you know. I mean, you just didn't use it at home. And of course, the machines have gotten a lot better, too. That's one of the reasons why you can use the non-invasive ventilation in a lot of settings. When they first came out, you know, you were lucky if you got 2 settings and that was it, you know.
Yeah.
But the equipment is so much better, so you have a wide variety, you know, that you can use it. And also, when you call home, are you calling places where patients stay other than home, say like not assisted living, but the long-term care where they're receiving care, or the vent hospitals, I guess, where the vent hospitals are trying to change over to non-invasive ventilation, but they're not actually in the hospital part of the vent unit hospitals. They're sort of like on a little ambulatory wing off from that. Are you talking about those patients too?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think probably not, because I would imagine that if you are a vent hospital, you're probably being paid under a DRG. And I think for our purposes, we are only interested when a product qualifies as a durable medical equipment, which I believe is based on, you know, Medicare rules, is, you know, for sort of personal use, and not when someone needs to be in the care of someone else. The exception, I would say, would be if a patient is receiving home health from Medicare, or if they are in hospice. Because, well, hospice is probably not the right one. Probably just home health, because I think in hospice, probably in hospice too, actually. There's no longer, obviously, the, you know, life-saving measures. It's just sort of making, you know, ensuring the patient's comfortable. But I think that probably just from the DME aspect, when that code would be specifically billed by a supplier to Medicare.
Okay, because then if you're doing that with the DRG, you know, the codes and diagnosis as well as your DME kind of gets bundled, you know?
Yep, and we don't want the bundled. We're not.
Okay, so okay.
Yep. Yeah. So just that home safe. So I guess, so to your point then, you know, to your point where Medicare is much more loose. So one of the things, you're familiar with MedPAC, right? The Medicare payment. Okay, perfect. So they recently published their report to Congress, where they've called for they've essentially indicated that the non-invasive vents are interestingly have the highest expenditure of a single code, not in competitive bidding for a DME, but also they commented that certain technology in the non-invasive space is that a patient, you can use, there's certain technology that allows you to do CPAP and non-invasive ventilation technology.
Right, like a BiPAP, yes.
Yeah, so I guess we're trying to understand that better, because CPAP, for what I understand, is paid at like, you know, $100 a month on a rental, and non-invasive vents are paid at like $1,500 a month or $1,100 a month. And that's a huge difference, especially given that, you know, obstructive sleep apnea is very, very different than, you know, something where you need where not having ventilation would kill you.
You know, and see, part of the problem goes to the pathophysiology. If you just have obstructive sleep apnea and you're not hypoxic or truly hypercarbic, and you just need positive airway pressure to keep your airway open, you can do that with CPAP machine, and depending on how much pressure you need, you know, you can crank it up from, 5 to 20. Whereas if you have a real disease where you have gas impairment and exchange problems where you're hypoxic, where maybe your oxygen, let's say, is low, or the contrary, which is just as bad, your carbon dioxide level is too high, you need a machine that can